Hello and welcome to this live Q&A for the new release of Justine, which is a feature film set in Brighton from director Jamie Patterson, and it is starring Tallulah Haddon, Sophie Reid, and we're also joined today by producer Sarah Drew. So before we get started, we're going to show you the trailer. So for those of you that haven't seen the film yet, firstly, where have you been? But secondly, don't worry, we'll show you the trailer. It'll get you a bit of an idea as to what to expect. And then we'll be having a bit of a conversation and hearing from Jamie, Sarah, Sophie and Tallulah. And if you have any questions, you'll be able to ask them and we will ask for you and find out all the answers. So let's watch the trailer and see what Justine is about.
Do you ever think about dying?
Everyone thinks about dying.
It's attractive. What's attractive about dying, Justine?
Not feeling anything. So what do you want to do? Justine.
Rachel. Tell me something about you. Something I don't know.
The past can be a terrible thing. I don't particularly want one.
The best thing you can do is just keep your nose out of it, yeah?
Hello? Justine?
Okay, Doc.
You have to stop drinking.
When I drink, I feel safe.
I can make you feel safe.
What's the point of all this? We'll end in tears.
So that was the trailer for Justine, and I'm going to welcome into the room Tallulah Haddon, Sophie Reid, Sarah Drew and Jamie Patterson. I'm also joined by Sophie Bromley, who will be asking the questions with me today. So let's bring them all in. Excellent. Welcome. Hi. Hi. Oh, that was silent. Welcome today. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about new film Justine. It's really exciting. So for anyone who isn't aware, this is a new film. Justine is set in Brighton. We've got a little synopsis going along the bottom. When self-destructive Justine meets Rachel, she sees the possibility of happiness, but her pain runs deep and the demons begin to surface. So this is not a rom-com, but it's an amazing film. And I want to just, first of all, really jump straight in with Jamie to say, obviously, this is not your first feature. You're known for Tucked. And what I'd like to really know is how you chose this film and how you made sure it was authentic. Because obviously, for a lesbian audience, often what they look at is who writes and directs content. So I'd really love to get straight to, as a male writer and a male director, you've done an amazing job at really creating an authentic film. So how did you choose the project? Why did you choose it? And how did you ensure it was as authentic as it is? Because it's really definitely hits the mark. So tell us a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So it came to me first. So I'd done Tucked, and with any film I look to do, it's always about the script. It's always about the characters. It also helps if it shoots in Brighton, because I'm a Brighton boy and I love it in Brighton and I get to sleep in my own bed and it's glorious. But this was a script that Sarah brought to me that I guess she thought I could, do a good job with it. And I immediately connected with the material, especially the role of Justine, because I hadn't really seen a character like that before. You know, we have seen like versions of that character, but normally it's from a broken home or there's something a little bit darker in the past. And this came at it at a different angle. And at this point, I think the script was written a fair few years ago and Jeff had done so much research. Jeff, the writer, Jeff Murphy, had done so much research on it that sort of, by the time it came to me, it was, I love the characters, I love the material, but I didn't feel like it necessarily needed my voice on it. I thought the voice was already there. Jeff had done it. It was kind of about, this was the only film I've ever done. I think I've made 15 features. It's the only film I've ever done where we had rehearsal time. We had 2 days workshop in it. And for me, what was so important was that myself, Tallulah and Sophie were able to sit and really talk about the film and the characters and each individual scene, which again, I never sort of had the chance to do before, because I was very aware that really, you know, me attaching myself as a director to this, it didn't necessarily need more input from a 34-year-old straight white man. You know, that wasn't the voice it necessarily needed. You know, it needed that female perspective. And, you know, Tallulah, Sophie, Sarah, such smart women, and had so many incredible ideas. So kind of, I think in that 2 days, even though 2 days never sounds like much, but like, you know, we shot the whole movie in 10 days. So to have 2 days to really sort of talk about, and Kirsty Dillon came in as well, you know, to really be able to discuss the scenes really helped. I think, you know, the script, we made some script changes as well. And I think the film's much stronger for it. So yeah, that's kind of how I got attached, and kind of that process. And everything just happens so quick in the indie film world. You know, it's kind of, you get that and then you shoot it, and it's just, the post-production always takes so much longer. The actual shoot, the really fun bit, it just goes so quickly. But yeah, that's how I got attached to it, and the sort of process of it.
Brilliant, thank you. No, you're right. I think often I hear there's, you know, not rehearsal time together, so it's nice. And I think maybe that's part of the reason. And you've also got very talented actors on board who really, the chemistry was really strong, and so it really did, you know, make a difference. So yeah, really interesting. Thank you. Sophie, did you have a question?
Actually, as a follow-up, just kind of interested to know how everyone else got involved with it, especially Tallulah and Sophie.
How do we get involved in the project? So for me, I've known Jamie since I graduated back in 2012. Like, both Brighton born and bred, went to the same high school, Stringamingers. And I just got an email from Jamie saying that after reading the script, he'd thought of me for the part of Rachel. So I gave it a read, and yeah, sent off a little tape to him, and that was it. Bish bash bosh.
I had worked with Jamie's wife, April, on another show called Kiss Me First, and she, I believe, recommended me for the part. So I was sent the script, and yeah, I wanted to do it straight away because it's gay.
That's a good reason. I like that reason. I'm totally with you on that.
To be honest, I really just like making indie films. Like, I'll never really say no to anything, because all the experiences that I've had on indie films have been so varied, and you always get something out of it. So it's just nice to still be sent stuff like that, and still be considered for that, especially when you've done more mainstream work. It's like, I really like working in both fields. So that was what was appealing to me.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I think it's really interesting you say to be able to still do both industries, because you're right, you've done a lot of really interesting stuff, Tallulah. I know you've recently been you did Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, people will recognise you from. Sophie as well, yourself, you've been in quite a few things, and that's, I think, it's a different world when you do kind of mainstream TV and film, or when you do kind of indie film. But do you find you get more or less work offered on the indie side when you've been in the mainstream world? And have you ever found where you had to choose between one or the other? Because obviously I think they're very different opportunities you get given. If you had to choose between both at the same time, is there kind of, do you know how you'd make that decision? Because I know it's really hard, isn't it? Indie films have more passion, whereas I think obviously mainstream, you've got that more reach, but I think that they offer different opportunities.
I think it would depend on the project. To be honest, like, indie films can still be shit. Sorry, can I swear?
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, something that has a massive budget can still flop. Like, there's really no. I think it's with any artistic opportunity, you'll never really know. You can only know your shit, do your research. and just take a chance on it, really. I don't think I've really ever been in that demand to have to choose.
Not yet, but yeah.
I tell you what, I once got offered a lead in a because my background is in musical theatre. I'm a big music person, and I once got cast in a big mainstream project, and then got cast in a big touring theatre thing, it was a small touring theatre thing, and I opted for the small touring theatre thing, and then got convinced to do the mainstream because they thought I was being an idiot. But so I think, like, for that, the reason why I chose the smaller thing was the role was more interesting to me. And it's tricky when you're putting those, because there's two sides of you, because you're like, that's going to grow me and potentially expand to more interesting things that I do like. And then there's but what do I want now? Because it's my life happening now. Yeah. So
also sometimes things can lead on to other things. Yeah. So you're in like a shit big thing so that you get like another. But also something you realize is that no one will really ever remember what you've done.
Yeah.
No, I just mean, like, you can do a project that it wasn't your favorite job, but you can still get work after that, and you can still continue to be creative. So I think I've become less precious about what I do as well.
Yeah. And try to just make the best of like what does happen, because even to get even one job is so, like, not every actor gets to do that.
Actually, with Black Mirror, I was doing like a really niche like performance art thing, and I had to cancel the whole thing because it literally small shooting like happened on the exact date of the performance. It was really bad. Anyway, I should move on. That's not relevant.
No, but it is. I think you're right. Good projects on paper can turn into bad projects, and that's what I mean. And sometimes it's working out what drives you and what's the passion to make the decision. It's really tough. Yeah.
Also, sometimes you just have to be realistic. Like, what am I going to get out of this? Okay, it's not going to be all these things, but it might be this and that.
Yeah. So, Sarah, you brought this project to Jamie. How did you come across it, and why did you choose Jamie? And what was your kind of driver behind this? What kind of drove you through to be a producer on this film? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, so I met Jeff Murphy when I was studying screenwriting in Aberystwyth, and we just hit it off. We both come from a background of being musicians and then wanting to be screenwriters. And I remember Jeff sort of semi-joking to me one of the first times that we met, and he said, you should keep writing. He said, there's not that much money in writing. You want to be producing. That's where the money is. And anyway, I didn't really consider producing for a while, but Jeff and I continued to have a correspondence, and he sent me Justine in about 2015, I think it was. And I just was like, oh my God, this is so powerful. This is an incredible film. And again, we didn't say anything else about it for about a year. And then eventually he just pretty much kind of like nudged it towards me, and he went, you should go and produce this. You get this movie, you understand it. I think you should go and make it happen. And I was a bit like, I don't know what. Okay, great, let's do it. And I was living in Brighton, and I talked to Jeff about how he saw the film, what kind of a movie it would be, how it was going to look, all this stuff. It was sort of very clear to him. And so, he wanted it to be an indie film. He wanted it to be authentic and raw. And I knew about Jamie. I was very sort of into the film world. And, if you live in Brighton and you love film, you should know about Jamie and Jumpstart Productions. And so fortunately for me, we had a mutual friend who ended up producing the film as well, and we got together, and I did a pitch like anyone else, and he read it, and went for it. But so I think that answers your question about the involvement. But for Jeff, it was just really it was an important love story. But Jeff had done a lot of research he'd been looking at sort of what he felt was like a lost generation. You know, he kept meeting a lot of young people who were incredibly intelligent and so capable of things, but they felt disillusioned by the world around them. And he would go out, he did all this research of going out and meeting paramedics who would go out on the streets at night and be picking up drunk people. And he'd be like, so, you know, who are these people? And they'd often say, you know, they're incredibly intelligent people and they're lost. There's something that's not quite right. And he just wanted to tell that story. And he just imagined Justine and then Rachel, who kind of changed things and shook things up for her.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that really kind of struck a chord with me, that like Justine's character, Justine's always saying like, you know, I'm not intelligent, I'm not worth anything, and it was clear she was. Tallulah did a great job of bringing that kind of, you know, it wasn't spoken, but you could see it was there, that there was real depth to Justine, but it was just like broken down and stuck inside. And I think that's what I really loved, was the power that it was just like not talked about. And I think it takes a really good actor to put across unspoken like portrayals, and I think that really throughout Justine, you know, both Sophie and Tallulah did an amazing job. There was so much on the screen that wasn't spoken that you could see in their performances. So yeah, thank you very much. Sophie, did you have a
yeah, no, I'm just obviously, I know watching it I formed an opinion of the characters, but I'm really curious as to what you guys think of the characters, because, you know, I can see why people would relate to them, especially because like I grew up with a lot of Justines in my life, and I have been a Rachel character in my life as well. So I'm just curious, like, what you guys all think of the characters.
Who wants to go first on that one?
You.
Tallulah's on it.
Yeah, I'll just, she's back on my.
No, go. It's fine. No, say something.
I was just going to say, you know, I like you just said, Sophie Bromley, you know, knowing these people, you know, I think, you know, for a number of people, I think we can perhaps relate a little bit to both sides. You know, I certainly feel like there've been times in my life where I've sort of felt disillusioned and felt lost, and, you know, been on the wrong side of mental health. And then at other times you can realize your power and potency of being the more positive force in a relationship. And this is what I thought was just so wonderful to see play out on screen, and, you know, was why we chose Sophie and Tallulah, because they both had that, you know, in abundance. Tallulah was able to kind of show that sort of darkness. It was all very, you know, because it could so easily be overdone, and it just wasn't. You could sort of see it all happening behind the eyes. And then Sophie just had this brightness that Rachel needed, that positivity. So yeah, for me, I relate to both sides of them, and I think it's they're a very interesting combination to watch.
Was the question, how do we relate to the characters, or just like what do we think about the characters?
Well, you can say how you relate to them, but I was just more curious what you thought of them as characters. Like, did you like them or not like them?
Oh, okay. I feel like I sort of based Justine kind of on a friend of mine who probably might have bipolar, not sure, but I didn't really decide that Justine had any specific diagnosed mental health problem, but I felt that the friend of mine that I have is always really fun, and I just wanted her not to be her addiction, if that makes sense, because the people that I know who have substance abuse, they're not like you don't, what am I trying to say? It just comes out in a very different way than it's often portrayed. So I wanted her to be like quite into like healthy eating, and my sort of instinct was to go the opposite with it and try to subvert like the trope of the alcoholic and to like if she went into a corner shop, like she might buy a smoothie or something. Like she's not self-destructive by nature. Like that's not her personality. That just happens to be something that she's going through. So yes.
Well, strangely enough, I had not long ago played a character who was really like Justine. Another Brighton-based character, except she'd gone over to Texas, and that was an interesting clash of cultures. So, and I would also say that on a personal level, I relate to kind of what you were saying, Sarah, about, I mean, I was never one of these people that the paramedics found for sure, but there was definitely like a lost phase. And I think what I liked about Rachel is she was lost, but kind of following rules.
Yeah.
And I think if you've never particularly had much, whether it be like self-induced trauma or a trauma that's happened to you, there's this kind of like naive confidence that comes with that. And I think that's what Rachel has, and is kind of looking to be pushed off in some kind of extreme way. She doesn't know where, not looking. Well, actually, I think she's kind of looking to have the rug pulled out in some respect. So it was really nice to like come from one character who is on a mission and then go to someone who's a bit more like observant and looking to be stimulated. So that's what I quite liked about Rachel, and what I wanted to bring to her was this observant thing.
Yeah. I when I got the script, I think the characters are likable, but I think they're likable in a real world way. I think where the movie, you know, all of us as human beings, we're not likable 24/7. We're not all like, you know, like the movies that we see, like the movies that Matthew McConaughey did for 10 years, for instance, where he was just that lucky, fun chap guy and everything's great. And, or like sex scenes, you see a movie, oh, cool, my clothes are off and it's all perfect and everyone's come. This is fantastic. You know, that's not real life. That's not what this movie was. And I think in order for it to work, you know, the characters can't be likable the whole time. You need to get frustrated with them at times. And I think that's what this movie does, especially with Justine. But I think what I loved about it, at the root of it all, is a love story, and is a story about first love, which I think everyone can relate to. We've all kind of had our heart broken. We've all felt that. We've also had that desire to think that we're that special person that can save someone, you know, we can fix your problems. Love can fix your problems. Love can conquer all. It's that beautiful idea, which in reality doesn't always work. So I think, you know, this movie is real, and it's honest, and it is heartbreaking. It's hard to watch at times, but I think that's what makes it what it is. You know, if all the characters in it, or certainly with Justine, everyone was a little bit more like one, a little more, you know, a bit more jazz hands, then the movie doesn't really work. So I think, you know, slightly unlikable at times works. I think we need to see that represented more within film, to be honest with you. But yeah.
Yeah, when I saw it, it was really refreshing to see something that was, I mean, you just have to look at the stats. The number of LGBTQ people who have issues with substance abuse of some sort, you know, the mental health in the community is high. And it was quite refreshing to see it, but just not just the downside, but actually how, even if in the toughest times, you can find light, and there's someone out there. For me, the message was there's someone out there will still love you, even though you might be slightly broken or you might be struggling. And I think particularly at the moment with the pandemic and everything, it's a really good time for this film to come out, because everyone's going through different struggles. And I think it's just in a moment of reality and in quite a tough message, there is still this thing of we're all still lovable, no matter what you've been through, what you're going through. Someone, if they really do love you, they can see through that pain and they can support, and actually you can still support someone else as well. And it's about that relationship. And it was really just nice to see that on screen. So yeah, I think it's, you know, it isn't an easy watch at times, but I think the underlying message, and actually I think what you did a really good job of, and I'd love to come on to, is the music. I really believe like music in film is essential, but what you've done with the music in Justine changed the mood and was just so powerful and really kind of took you places really quickly. It's an absolutely phenomenal soundtrack on Justine. So can you tell us a little bit about how the music played a part, how you chose the music, because it absolutely, I think, finished the product perfectly.
Sarah, you're probably best for this one.
Yeah, well, I do actually think it might have been Jamie who at one point said, we need to have an all-female soundtrack. Somebody said that in the office. I'm damn sure it was you, Jamie.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, you know, we sort of set about trying to find the right songs, you know, some that sort of had message of hope, but you know, mostly just the songs that were going to be representative of the emotions as we hit upon them throughout the film. And you know, of course, we didn't have a huge budget to sort of splash out on, you know, the big indie stars of the day. Yeah, myself as a sort of, I sometimes say former musician, I still play when I can, when the bars are open. I kind of like went through sort of my little black book of musicians and sort of, you know, called up all the girls and just sort of said, look, here's this story, here's this film that I'm working on, we're looking for music. And yeah, you know, sort of some friends were sort of sending me tracks, and then there was a girl that I'd met who had been touring in the UK called Jessie, who she's the artist Pony Hunt, and she just had this beautiful haunting voice, and her songs were kind of melancholic in sound, but there was sort of something upbeat about them. And so you know, we went to her and picked out these couple of songs and asked if we could have those. So yeah, and then my other friend Piney Gurr, she has that beautiful track at the very end, which lyrically was perfect as well. So yeah, that's some of the story.
Isn't there a playlist with all the artists on it? Didn't we get? Hasn't that been made? Isn't it on Spotify or something? I tried to find it today, but I didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've got that up yet. I think
no.
That's.
Oh, it's to follow. Watch this space.
There will be, yeah.
It will be. And actually, when we do put it up, it's going to be, is it Justine Film? Is that what we agreed on, Jamie?
I think so, yeah.
So
yeah,
it
let me know when that comes out. I want to listen to it.
Yeah, we thought that'd be nice to try and get it all together. You know, I mean, we talked at one point about actually, you know, releasing the soundtrack, but in this day and age, it's not like people are sort of buying CDs. So yeah, we'll make sure that it's out on Spotify and so that people can find it. But yeah, all of the songs are available. You know, they're on iTunes and Amazon Music and everything. But obviously, we'll help you towards them by putting it all up on Spotify.
Right. Tallulah, Sophie, can you tell us, like, do you have a favourite scene in the movie or a favourite thing that happened on set that you really kind of, because I think with every actor, like, this becomes your world for like 10 days you're filming. So what, come on, share with us your favourite day on set or favourite scene.
Oh no! Okay.
What you laughing at?
It was fun. The club scene. We had 1 pint each. We danced full of smoke. Jamie had a dance solo setting it up. That's on Instagram.
Yeah.
And like we got a baked potato afterwards. Like that was just such a brilliant day. That was a really good day. And then obviously like the final day when we went over to Lansing, it was beautiful weather. It was very windy, but you know, it'd been a really intense 10 days, and then you go somewhere really expansive where the tide's out as far as the eye can see in the sand, and there's a drone pilot. Oh yeah, that was a good day.
That was a drone. That was really cool. Yeah, I think the club scene was fun because we actually were a bit drunk. I'm a lightweight, so
yes,
I was gone. Yeah, it was really fun, and it's also just good to like relax and just not have to really act in those scenes. Like we just genuinely were having a good time. And I really felt that I wanted that in my kind of story arc that I made for the film. I wanted that moment to be her like happiest moment, and for it to be like pure elation, like they were on ease or something, but really they were just drinking like Foster's or something. But and I feel like that really came across, and I just genuinely was really happy. So that was really nice. And I also really liked some of the like darker stuff. Like I really obviously it's like I didn't enjoy it in a sycophantic way, but it was challenging. And also the way that we shot with Jamie, like it was just me, Jamie, and oh my god, what's the camera? What the fuck is it?
Paul.
Oh fucking hell, I was gonna call him Jamie. Me, Jamie, and Paul, like just like there was one thing where I had to like run out of a hospital car park. Like, yeah, you know, we were just on the street, like shooting stuff, like not really asking anyone because you don't really need permission to shoot on the street. But that was really fun. Like some of the scenes where I'm just like on my own drinking on a park bench. The atmosphere was there, so it just felt a lot easier to do my job. And it's enjoyable. Like it's satisfying when you feel that you're doing your best. And I think I did feel really lonely, and I did feel really desperate, and that really helped to convey how she felt in that moment. I really liked the bath scene as well, because I insisted that she had like cuts on her legs, and the makeup artist and I collaborated, and we made like raised scars. I don't know if someone's self-harmed and then it's like healed, it like kind of heals as like a raised scar. And I really wanted that to be in shot. I didn't make it in shot, but it was quite enjoyable for me to like have that attention to detail as well, because stuff like scars and tattoos and stuff like that is all just an extension of the character. So to feel like, and also I had a lot of say in, I wanted Justine to be wearing a binder, and like what are they called? Oh my god, what are men's boxers and stuff like that. So just things that I felt were authentic and are authentic to the dykey look, really. So just all stuff like that where I'm having a say, and Jamie and I collaborating about what she's going to look like and how she's going to be, and like she's not going to be wearing like a frilly bra and stuff like that. It's like all of that just made it feel like so easy. So just a lot of stuff like that. And obviously like the scene where we were like chasing each other, because that was just really gay. It was great. It was so great. And obviously the scene I loved.
I did wonder about the costumes though, because it did feel kind of, I mean, you see it in a lot of high budget movies or like matching lingerie and everything, and you were just kind of wearing like underwear that I've seen a lot of lesbians and stuff wear, you know, it seemed more real and stuff. But the what Justine wore I thought was really, really cool. So like the whole, I was wondering about like it's good to know that you got to have a say in what Justine wore and everything. It's cool that you know you had that creative input. I was
quite forceful, I'm not gonna lie. Like if somebody, what is that phrase? It's like if someone gives you an inch, you take a mile, or like something like that. Like, I'm already quite like, you know, like I really like collaborating, but I will say like what I think about something, and if someone like doesn't want to do that, then I will respect that, and I'm not gonna like push it. But if someone is like, yeah, you can like have say on this, I'll be like, cool, here we go. So this is the mood board I made. And like this is like, me and Jamie had like such a long conversation. Like I don't know if we were texting or emailing or something, but I was just sending him like all the references I had for like what her hair was gonna look like, and like blazers. And we talked about, actually it was Jamie, it was actually you, because I was like, oh, I've got this blazer that I really want to wear. It's like dykey, but it's like she thinks she's like cooler than she is, kind of thing. Like I like the blazer with like jeans. Like it's just like you actually look a bit bit geeky, but you like think you look really cool. And then you were like, oh, you're kind of like Reservoir Dogs, and I kind of like dykey Reservoir Dogs. That was kind of what we went for. And also I was wearing like basketball shorts, like that's kind of similar to someone that I based it on. They're kind of like, they are kind of wearing like clothes that you wouldn't think look good together, but they do. And I think that's kind of like a bit of a dyke swag thing where you're just like, I'm not sure that would look good on anyone else. And it's a thin line like between tacky and very cool. I don't think she looks that cool, but it's definitely like an individual look. So I can't remember what the hair was. Like I wanted like long black hair, or like I wanted it to be like, well, it was gelled back. Really wanted that, but kind of wanted it to be black. And then at one point I had like a white streak or something. I can't remember. I remember
at some point you'd because I knew that you'd been discussing things with Jamie, and Jamie was sort of going, oh yeah, you know, we've got all these kind of far out ideas for the look. And then I saw a picture of you on Instagram, and I don't know if it was taken a year before or that day, but your hair was green, and it was a few days before the shoot. And I remember calling Jamie and going, is Tallulah gonna have green hair as Justine? Is that the look? What?
Oh, were you freaking out? You didn't want it to be green? My hair's green now.
It's gonna be green. I was just thinking, what's on the mood board?
Oh yeah. Also, like when I read it, I forgot I did audition. I mean,
you did.
I've been out here saying you gave me the role like some wanker. Fucking hell. It's because I forgot because I did a tape that was like so bad. I can't even believe you gave it to me. It was like I was doing like a northern accent.
Oh yeah, I remember the northern accent.
I was like in the rehearsal room, I was like, I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm doing a northern accent.
We did the whole first read through in a northern accent. And I remember we sat down to do a 2-hour read through, and you did it in a northern accent. And in my head, I didn't just go after like a minute, should we lose the north? I let you do the whole script because I thought I felt bad, and then had to go, let's not do the north. Let's just use your voice.
I'm pretty sure you said after we'd done it for an hour, and I was like, yeah no, so she's northern, like this is definitely happening. Like,
yeah. I was sort of like quietly saying to Jamie, at what point do I have to call Kirsty, who's playing Justine's mom, and tell her that she's going to have to be northern as well?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Like I always talk about when it comes to casting, and obviously as a director and producers, we get so much power in the fact that we get to choose who gets to take on these roles, and there's so much responsibility in that. But then once you make that decision, you commit to that decision, the character is no longer, it's out of your hands. The power almost lies with them. And it's important for that. It's important to, like, any script I've written or any script I work on, like, you don't have to say the lines exactly how they're written. You don't have to do this. You don't have to wear exactly what I see, because the character in my head is now you are that character, and it's your vision. It's your interpretation of that. And as a director, I trust my cast to be making those decisions. So, I think with like what Tallulah said, when it comes to, the clothes or changing some lines here or there or whatever, like everyone should be heard. And like Tallulah said, it's not saying that every decision is made, but it's a conversation. Filmmaking is collaborative. If it's one person going, well, I'm doing it this way, I'm doing it this way, normally that movie sucks, because it's just one person. Where film becomes its sort of most beautiful is when everyone gets involved, everyone chips in, and that's what jumpstart the company that we've got. Like we have a small crew. We maybe have, I think there was 16 people maybe on this movie, if that. It's all very small, and there's so much trust there for every department, because like we all need to be at the top of our game to make a good film. It's pointless. It can look glorious, but if there's shit sound, doesn't matter. It can sound great, but if it looks shit, it's shit. You know what I mean? It's like, and that goes across the board from everyone who worked on the film, but also everyone who came in for like one day, half a day, like just to do a couple of little lines. Like everyone gave it 110%, because we all know nowadays, like one dodgy performance, one dodgy line, it takes you out of a movie. And as filmmakers, we work so hard to get that audience in and committed, that if one person comes along and, fucks up a line, you're going, oh, I saw it in Line of Duty the other day. Probably shouldn't say that because I want to direct Line of Duty. but someone was awful. And it was like, oh my God, what is this Line of Duty? What are they doing? And I was out. I got back in, AC 12, whatever. But just for that split second, it makes you, and then you realize, you go, hey, I'm not a copper. I'm actually sitting in my front room eating an Easter egg, watching a TV show. You know what I mean? It's so important.
No, you're not Jamie. You're a detective.
I know. I've got a little.
He's always on the case. You are.
That's what I wanted to be as a kid. I always wanted to be a detective. I didn't.
Sherlock Holmes, mate.
No, John McClane was the goal. I always wanted to be John McClane, but then my mum. I remember I used to wear a vest as a kid and have toy dart guns, and roll around. And my mum said to me once, do you really want to be a police officer? Do you really yeah, I want to be John McClane. She's like, you want to get shot at and you want to risk it? And I was like, no, that's awful. I don't want to do that at all. I just want to be John McClane in the movies. And that was I wanted to be James Bond and whatever. I don't know what I've just started talking about that, but I've come back to the point of, I think it's just so important that everyone kind of is on the same page. And we got such I basically wanted to just throw a lot of praise for our cast and crew, because everyone who worked on this movie just delivered and was amazing and so passionate. And I think it shows in the film.
We were talking about collaboration. We were talking about costume, and then we were talking about collaboration. And then we were talking about
it's just one hashtag Jamie Bond.
Do you want to talk about your costume?
Jamie Bond. Yeah. What did you think of your costume, Sophie?
It was just, I wanted her to always subtly be trying a bit too hard.
That came across.
Thanks. Strangely enough, a lot of it was my clothing.
Which is common in indie film as well, isn't it? It's like you end up raiding your own wardrobes to an extent, or your friends' wardrobes as well.
I got to wear my own shoes. That was cool.
Those shoes were cool, but I did wonder, I do wonder with indie films all the time, how much is their own clothes and stuff.
It's interesting bringing your own clothes to a character. I actually had found a really expensive suede jacket, which is in the first scene, I think, when they meet. And in hindsight, I like clothes, but I sometimes they don't look how I think they look. Which I think is where the subtle try-hard comes from, because I think maybe they're looking quite casual, but actually it's not. And I think I wanted to bring that to Rachel, that kind of slight,
not quite.
Not quite. And I found this perfect jacket. It was so well fitted.
I remember that.
Yeah, little collar, and it was soft with the zip, and I wore it with the trousers, and the trousers were the right fit, and it just wanted it all to be she's just trying really a bit.
You're quite put together.
Yeah. These
characters,
it's a good
those characters work really well together.
Yeah, I think. Although, obviously your personal style is far different to Justine, so that was amazing to see that.
Yeah, but I got to be the butchest that I've been, and it was great. I used the opportunity to the fullest. And I remember I lost, as I was wearing a fake nose ring. I do need to get my nose actually pierced.
That was mine.
I was wearing do you want it back?
Yes, please.
It's here somewhere. Anyway, so I was wearing this nose ring that is Sophie's, and I was walking down quite a famous street in Brighton, and I dropped it, and then I was looking for it, and I had to be back to set, but I couldn't find it, and then I was there for ages trying to find this fucking nose ring, and then this person called Mike just started helping me find it. I was like, what is this? I live in London. Why are you calling me? Are you gonna kill me? Go away. And then he helped me find this nose ring, and it was honestly a miracle. It was one of those moments where you're just you are just so thankful. And I was like, thank you so much, thank you. And I'm not really that temotive. So I was like, thank you so much, thank you for your help. And then the first thing I did was I went to this place where they were piercing, and there were these really butch bulldogs were I was like, do you have any fake piercings for your nose? And they were like, no, we only do piercings. like real piercings. That's it. And I was like, okay. And then then Mike helped me find the thing, and I can't remember why I'm talking about this.
Do you actually have your nose ring pierced? Sorry, Jamie.
No.
No, I need to get it pierced. I need to do it because I did.
The nose ring was Sophie's. Did she have her nose pierced?
Do I have it?
No, you don't have a nose. No, why I mentioned the nose piercing is because just before it fell out, I felt really cool.
No.
I was like walking down the Brighton street, like,
no.
So
it's amazing what a nose ring can do, isn't it? Yes.
I think it was the jeans. Like, I never wear jeans, and I was like, look at me go.
Wow. My favorite thing about that story is you forgot the guy's name who shot our movie, but you remember Mike, who you met for 4 seconds, who helped you find a nose ring. Like, that's brilliant. That's gold. Like, Mike is getting so much love on this. I love
I'm
Mike.
sure I have ADHD, and I don't think you're very good at remembering names, but I do have a very nice memory of us and Paul in the van listening to Africa by
tune
Lakes or whatever they're called, Toto, and singing along together, and we'd all finished, and it was just us three.
It was.
So, you know.
Happy days.
That was.
What's my name?
Wow.
Lady with the brown hair.
You didn't recognise me because I caught it.
Anyway, sorry.
Digress.
More questions.
Sophie, do you have another question? Or
no, I was just thinking maybe we should let the viewers ask some questions.
Yes, let's have a look and see what's come in. So if anyone's got any questions, you can ask now. We've got Susie's just saying hello from Finland.
Hello, Susie from Finland.
Yeah. So we've got I don't know if Jamie, if this is someone you know and it's in code, woman brings woman to Easter Florida. Not entirely sure. It's not necessarily a question.
Okay, let's say against all odds they find out Faith brought. Okay, so is that a Tux? That's a Tux reference, right? They find out Faith brought.
Yeah.
Them.
So one of your fans from Tucked is watching, and they've got a few different comments. So I want to go down to the questions, but you might want to look back over the comments and see a few more.
That's the wrong film, babe.
Yeah. So Lena on Facebook has asked if you have a favourite line from each other's character. So this is the thing is, this, as you say, this film was filmed quite a while ago. It takes a long while to come through. Do you remember each other's lines?
Favorite line from.
Do you have a favourite line? I have a favourite one. Which was you're quite fit, aren't you?
That was my line.
For me.
Yeah, I made that up.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, we added that in. I was quite brutal about it.
And I think my favourite line, talking about Barcelona, was lovely, but the bit where I say you're safe with me, like I can give you that. Yeah, I liked that moment. So those are my two standouts.
Yeah.
Speaking of Barcelona, actually, we actually have a question about that. So, Lena, again, Barcelona seems to be a common destination in women loving women films. So Debs and Kiss Me is an example. Was that a conscious decision, or?
I think, I'm not. I can't speak for Jeff entirely, but I know that he said to me that he'd been hearing that Barcelona was a popular destination for people to go to, and that was simply why he picked it. I don't think it had any relevance for him. He just was like, "Oh, kids are going to Barcelona these days, right?"
Yeah. Well, as a lesbian woman myself, I have been to Barcelona, so
I've been to Barcelona. Apparently,
there we go.
Maybe if you go, then you get turned.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
that's what it is.
That must be it. That's when I felt the transition.
Yeah, it must be all the ham and the prawns. It's too much protein.
Okay, let's have a look and see if we've got any other questions. So Elijah on YouTube wanted to know, do you find it hard wearing your own clothes and staying in character? And I guess this is what Sophie, you implied a little bit about this. You said it's quite hard bringing your own clothes. How do you find that balance, and how do you make sure you don't kind of slip into yourself if you are bringing things that from your life into set?
Oh, tricky.
Do you never wear them again after? Just like, oh.
I think, I mean, this is maybe a personal thing, but like, I don't know, maybe you guys have it as well, where certain clothes make you feel a certain way. Like there's an emotion attached to the item. So that can make it clear, like, oh no, I can't use this. It's too loaded with me. Whereas something like, I really like that very tailored, blank, neutral coat that do you find it hard to wear your own clothes and stay in character? If it is something that makes them physically feel very different, like I didn't ever really want Rachel to be too comfortable. So if I'd worn a hoodie, it wouldn't, nah.
It's interesting. Sorry, Tallulah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think it depends on your method as well.
Yeah.
Like the two things I can remember that three. I basically wore a lot of my own clothes, but that wasn't because there wasn't costume to wear. It was just because we decided that a lot of the things that I brought, I felt comfortable in, but I had kind of thought about those things in my process, like before, when I was sort of like building the character, I'd thought, oh, I might wear that. And like, and also the things I'd not worn a lot. So they didn't really have much of an association. So they kind of became the characters more than they were mine. I also think when I'm playing a character, I'm kind of just playing myself, but bringing parts of myself out and pushing other parts back. Like, but some people really believe they're playing a character. Not believe, but like it's a different process of coming to that place. Also, it depends on the job, but I think that if you feel comfortable, then you'll do a good job.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily about associations of, not for me, it's not about associations of my past. But obviously, if I wore something that was very indicative of a specific time, then I think that would maybe be a bit like triggering or something.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was thinking about this film, I actually chose this dress because I wanted to focus on how I felt at the end of the film, where I felt like there was still that whole, no matter how broken you are, someone still loves you. And so it's interesting you do attach clothes, because it's got like hearts on it. And I was like, no matter how tough life is, no matter what you're going through, there's still room for love, and there's someone who will see past that. And so actually that's why I chose what I'm wearing today. So it's interesting you say that. You definitely, I think clothes have meaning to us. They're much more than just things we put on. We do think about what we're wearing. So it's an interesting question. And I guess that's the challenge of indie work, is sometimes there's that blur, but it can be a good thing as well.
Also, without thinking, you're associating emotions with something. Also, I love your eyeshadow. It's fucking great. I thought that you were looking at the screen at the beginning, and that the like flag from the Lesflicks was like on your eyes, but then I realized it was eyeshadow.
I just realized.
I know, it's such a vibe.
Yeah,
that's so great.
I've kind of made it my trademark. I wore it for one Pride, and then you have that discussion in your head where you go, I'm not gay once a year. And that was that, really. That was 2 years ago now, and so this has become my trademark eyeshadow.
I'm not gay once a year.
Because I'm not gay once a year. I'm gay all year round, and I was even wearing it into a corporate office at one point.
I've never had a conversation with myself, but I might now.
Yeah, I'm staring at it now. I'm mesmerized.
At least someone made an effort.
I think you made the biggest effort, and to be honest, it's what I expected. I was like, oh, I really hope Tallulah's going to dress up, because looking through your IMDb and the performances you've done some amazing. You're always like, the roles you get given, you always get to really like overdress, and really kind of, your characters are always really kind of like not over the top, but like really detailed, and that's what I found was really interesting. Do you ever feel like you'd like to just do a really stripped back, really simple performance, or do you really seek out those really kind of deep over kind of roles?
Well, the show that I did that was probably the most responsibility and the longest filming on something, where I was also the lead, was very stripped back, and I actually asked to audition for the other character, because the description of the character that I played was like, you wouldn't notice her in a room, and I was like, that is not me. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't know how I'm going to access that. And then they said, no, you can't audition for the other character because they were like, you just can't. That was really fun because I think that was the most, I mean, it was really well written, so it was quite easy to do, but I actually kind of built a character more because it felt quite separate. So I made, not built a character, but I
pulled out
really
that side.
had to pull out parts of myself. And so it was a lot more of a challenge. And so I think, I can't remember what your question was.
Clothing.
Yeah.
It's like, do I?
No, we're past clothing on.
Yeah. I feel like Justine was quite stripped back, to be honest, like in terms of like looks. Like I think the whole
looks was, but the character was just definitely really deep and so many layers and so many levels to it, though. That
I mean, do I want to play like someone who's really bland? I don't understand.
No, I don't know.
It's not three-dimensional.
I just think you seem to bring something extra special to a character you play, and I don't know if that's because you seek roles out that you know you can bring the best out, or if it's been luck of, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I suppose I haven't. Sometimes you see actors, and then in some roles you're like, oh, it was a bit flat, or it didn't really work. But I'm like, you always seem to bring your A game to everything you do, and I don't know if that's because you're picking roles you like, or if it's just that people are seeing and bringing the best out of you, or if it's a combination of both. But I don't know, there's not been a flat performance, there's not been anything. You just think that was, you know, you said sometimes you take things and it's not quite good enough. I feel like you've got a great career so far, and everything's really popped and been really like good.
Thank you. That's really nice.
Colourful costumes and that though.
Take it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I said that about myself, but thank you.
Speaking of colourful costumes and that, I know, Sophie, you were in Beauty and the Beast, and you were dressed quite elaborately.
Oh yeah. You know, I will tell you this because it's a little subtle brag. So
go on.
My other sisters, they're wonderful, but they had hair pieces put in, like they had wigs added to their hair. That's all mine.
Wow.
Oh.
And it took 2 hours every morning.
Yeah, that's very
it was very, I loved the costumes in that. What was it like being dressed in such clothes with such detail and such amazing embroidery?
It was an absolute honor, full stop, because what you also don't see is there's like 6 layers to that skirt, and each layer has beautiful detail and lining, and every single shade of every single costume, everything had been thought through to such a meticulous level that it was just amazing and so daft. Like they just really gone for it with those girls, the bonnets, and it was so great to be dressed so uber femme, and then be playing people who were so internally grotesque. It's one of my favorite conflicts and combos and cocktails.
That is a good one.
So very quickly, going back to Justine, how important is it for you, Tallulah, to come on board with LGBT stories, with queer stories? Is it something that you feel you'd love to do more of? And do you feel like it's something that you would prefer to do? Would it be a choice of yours, or are you happy mixing roles up? Because I think kind of the visibility on screen is something the community always talks about, and good representation and good stories. So is that something yourself as well, that are you actively seeking out queer roles and queer stories as an actor?
Yeah. Justine was like the second project where I played a gay character. So it was really exciting, but also I had done it before, so it wasn't like the first thing. I feel like I'm always, looking to play authentic gay roles, just because I find it really frustrating when people aren't queer in any way, or also I find that some straight actors can be quite homophobic. Like I've been in situations where I'm like, oh, you're not really comfortable with this. Like you've had to kiss someone and they're like, they'll do it, but then like it's not really, it's quite uncomfortable for them. So I feel like, but it plays into the wider debate of, you know, should all gay roles be played by gay characters, or is it a debate, or does it depend on the project? Yeah, I would say that a lot of casting directors don't consider gay actors. And also, I would say that when gay actors do play gay roles, it's much better. It just is. Someone playing something authentically and is always going to come across like screen acting, and acting in general is just really about truth. Oh, siren. And being authentic. And I think that like when you don't commit to what you're doing, it's really, really obvious. So I would say people should always consider queer characters for queer roles, because they will just get a better film out of it. I think it also comes down to, it's a similar debate of, not debate, but it's a similar non-debate that we need to cast trans actors for trans roles. And I think that needs to be extended to queer characters, because, you know, something like Ammonite, which was a complete rip-off of Portrait of a Lady on Fire, just is trash compared to Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And that's not only because of the actors not being necessarily as authentic, but also because of the film. They're completely different films. But I just think it's disappointing, and I just think you'll get a worse film out of it. And I think, I don't know if Jamie was consciously doing that or not, but I do feel that Jamie is very switched on with representation and kind of self-aware and still wanting to tell these stories, but like honor them. So it's great when you get a director who wants to do that.
Jamie, is that a conscious decision you'd make? I mean, did you use a casting director, or did you find that you wanted more control yourself? I mean,
we kind of did it. We try and always do it ourselves. I have used a casting director. I've used wonderful casting directors. I think the thing with casting directors in the indie film world as well is there is this thing of like, hey, we haven't got that much money and we need to make this offer to it. And the casting directors don't like to even make the offer because they think it damages their name of like, oh, I can't possibly go to. So, you know, and that happens. And then sometimes you go, oh, well, now we're paying way too much for that actor and we didn't really have that. And, I think they would have probably done it for that if we'd have just had that conversation. And I think it's nice to have the control with the movies that we make as well. You know, me and Sarah worked very closely on the casting and had loads of people audition for it. And it's great. But I think it's because this movie there's not 50, it's not a huge movie. We're able to have that control. And that's what I love about indie film in general, is like, that's the beautiful thing. Like me, Tallulah and Paul literally sort of hiding around the corner from a hospital and be like, right, there's an ambulance there. Go, get in there, shoot it, turn it, walk in, walk out, let's go. Everyone goes separate ways. That's like, that's so great, and that only happens on sort of indie films. And for a movie like this, which was made for it was made for 50 grand. This was a tiny movie.
Wow.
Which is why it pisses me off beyond belief when you hear first-time filmmakers like who've got funding from BFI, or they've got someone's coming and they've gone, oh, it was such a struggle. We only had $500,000 to make it. Oh my God, it was all, we only had 3.5 weeks. And you're like, come on, like really, like that's what you would, So I think with this, we're able to control everything from casting and able to have proper conversations about every single decision we make. And I think that's if I ever go on to make bigger movies, I think that's something I'll potentially struggle with, is that I like to know who everyone is. You know, I like to be part of it. I'm not a control freak in any way, shape or form, but like, I like to be able to chat to everyone.
Well, yeah, it's about the relationship, isn't it, really? Because, you know, I mean, I'm worried about Jamie in sort of post-COVID filming world, because he likes to give everyone on set a big hug at the end. It's about the relationships, I think. You know, I mean, I still think that if Jamie works on a film with, you know, 150 crew, he'll know everyone's names and he will have given them a hug at some point. But yeah, I mean, that sort of small, you know, contained unit, it sort of becomes very much like a family. And I know everyone that talks about working on films will describe that, you know, that is how you function, by, you know, getting used to each other and trying to, you know, work as best you can in line with everyone else. But yeah, you know, there's something very, very magical about that sort of small contained unit. You know, everyone knows everyone and you have to trust one another, otherwise it's not going to work. And so, you know, it was a joyful, tiring, wonderful 10 days.
Yeah, and that relationship is what allows people to bring their best to the screen, and I think is why you've ended up with such a phenomenal film. And budgets are a challenge, I know, that I tried to explain to the audience as well, that like you can't compare every lesbian film to Carol, because it had 11.5 million pounds, and it's like, it's amazing how many times people go, oh, you know, it's just not as good as Carol. And I was like, oh my god, you're comparing Liddles to Waitrose.
Carol, sorry, it's so
yeah, I know. It's but I think it's just that kind of, you know, so it's really, you know, I think it's something that comes up time and time again, and I'm like, the quality we're making these days is amazing, but you're right, there's definitely different budgets, and I feel like when you have a better relationship and a better crew and a family feeling, you can do much more with much less. And sometimes when you have more budget, you tend to end up losing quality, because you lose control of where all the money's going, because you're almost like, it doesn't matter what that costs and what that costs, and it can kind of, that's where you can lose some of the quality. So
I think you also lose some creativity, because if every answer to your question is yes, can I take that wall down and put a camera in? Yeah, cool. Can I put a crane up? Yeah. Can I shut this street down? Yeah. All of a sudden you go, well, I can just do whatever I want. Whereas you go, you know, you end up storyboarding something, you arrive at location because you haven't had a chance to recce the location. You turn up and you go, well, I can't do any of these shots because, you know, there's a wall there, or there's a mirror there, or there's this and that there. And it's like, okay, let's think outside the box. Let's do it this way instead. And I think sometimes that's where you get those beautiful little moments where, you know, oh, we hadn't planned to do it that way, but it happened this way and it's so much better.
Yeah.
And I think you lose that with the more money you get. Saying that, I'm not trying to talk my way out of a lot of money. I'm just saying, like, it's it is something like I think it's precious. The indie filmmaking, and certainly the way we make it, is precious, and it will, you know, we feel very lucky to be able to do it. So
it leads to different creativity, I think, that can really bring something special to a film. But you still want anyone looking who's got money, send it Jamie's way. Like, you know, because Tallulah and Sophie, I'm sure, would love more pay, and indie film needs more money, not less. So we'll we need to eat, pay bills.
I was also going to say about casting, that I think in Jamie's films, like, I was really happy. I mean, there definitely could have been more people of color, but I felt I didn't, like Peach, for instance, you know, wasn't in the script, like, there's not a race assigned to that character, so it was just nice to just turn up and meet someone and be like, cool, like, let's go. Like, you don't get that on commercial jobs as much. Like, it's a lot more prescribed, and I think that's a great opportunity with indie film, is that you are still a gatekeeper. So that's also something that I enjoyed about working on Justine and Jamie's films in general.
Great. I'm conscious we've been chatting for just over an hour, so we probably should look to wrap things up. It's flown by, but in terms of Justine's now taken a life of its own. It's out in the world. I don't think it's not available everywhere yet. I've got people asking how they can watch it in the USA. It's a new release, so it's slowly getting out into the world. Unfortunately, distribution is not global, unlike the internet. So it'll take a little bit of time. Jamie, do you know if it's going to be coming to the US? Have you got a distributor out there yet? Do you know?
Yeah, so we're just about to do we're hoping to get a sales agent on board. I think that the thing with an indie film is, a film like this will never find its audience opening weekend, opening week. It takes time. You know, same when I did Tuck. Tuck took sort of a year and a half to find an audience. And you kind of stagger the release. So, you know, you go one platform, then you go with another platform, and then another platform. And then you branch out to worldwide and all of that stuff. And then, you know, eventually, if it ends up on Netflix or Amazon Prime, you know, we're all still very aware of, like, people still don't necessarily love to pay for movies, even though that's kind of what we need in order for people to keep making movies. But, you know, with platforms, you know, with things like Netflix, who is like not only the biggest distributor, but the biggest production company, who's putting in 200 million to their movies, and they're charging whatever it is, $9.99 a month, and you've just got unlimited. And it used to be that used to be our playground as well. You know, the VOD world, or like straight to DVD when it was, or whatever. Like, that was where we played, and all the other sort of Marvel movies and big, they were in the cinemas now. And now it's kind of, we've all kind of merged, which is great, because we're like, hey, we're in the same playground. There's Chris Hemsworth, and there's Jennifer Lawrence. This is great. But you kind of think, oh shit, like, okay, now we've got to compete a little bit with them. So it's whereas they can, you know, their movie comes out and everyone, you know, Thunder Force or whatever, Melissa McCarthy's new movie, you know, everyone watches that opening weekend. With something like Justine, it will take us a year or so, but I think that's great as well. You know, we'll just continue to find our audience. And that's the beautiful thing about movies. You know, once they're out there forever. You know, someone will watch this movie in 20, 30 years time or whatever. And hopefully it connects with them then. I think that's what's great about anything, you know, a painting, a song, whatever, you know, it will continue to just grow over the years and find its audience.
Yeah, so what I'd recommend to people is follow Justine. I'll put the Twitter account in the chat for everyone, and just watch the space. So yeah, exactly that. Indie film, it's just not everywhere immediately overnight. It takes time to find those distributors in each country that believe. Part of that is about knowing there's an audience. There's a real myth that there's no audience and no paying audience, particularly lesbian films. So as an audience, if you want to see Justine in your country and it's not available yet, the best thing you can do is share the fact that you want to see it on social media. Build that buzz where you are, because distributors do look at who's talking about these films, who wants to see these films. It is business. So if you want to see independent films with women loving women's stories, the thing to do is really to raise your voice, get your friends to all talk about it. And then the sooner you can be big and loud, the more likely, the more soon it will come to your country. So that's a real big kind of, for any indie film, if it's not Marvel, as you say, anything that's not in a studio, it comes to countries when a distributor believes there's an audience, and they'll be able to kind of get to that audience really easily. So the more vocal you can be as an audience using your social media, the more likely you'll get more of these titles and more films with the stories you want to see. So yeah, we're very excited to kind of be able to support Justine. I'm sorry, Sarah, yes.
Well, yeah, no, I just wanted to say on that point, thank you so much for championing our film, and to Sophie as well. You know, we rely on that support, and we're very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Thanks so much.
Well, that's exactly what we want to do, is, you know, it's about making the films easier to find. But yeah, basically, like, there's so many stories out there and too many just don't get to the audience, and we want to empower the audience as well to understand how much they can have an impact in that as well, because it's when we're loud and then people see we exist that then it's easier to market to us. So Justine's an amazingly phenomenal film. It's really deep, it's got so many layers to it. I do recommend to watch it legally, though. Please, you know, Marvel can afford to lose a few pounds through piracy, indie films cannot. So where you can, please question the links you're sent, make sure you're paying for content or it's on a legitimate site. But do watch Justine legally if you can, because it's phenomenal. And the more we support these films and pay for them, the more easy it is to make the next film as well. And obviously you can see the quality that Jamie's making. He needs to show that this film does well to make the next one. So we've all got it in our power to show this film successful. And then Tallulah and Sophie can get more work, Sarah can get more work, and it just, the pipeline speeds up. So everyone can do their part, really.
I would like to be paid now. Thank you.
There's the realities of indie film right there.
Time is not for free. No, but thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah, thank you.
Interview. It's so nice to be.
It's been really fun.
Interviewed. It's really nice to just be asked and someone to care about your work. Really. So
thank you. No worries at all.
To you. Thank you so much.
Great question. Really, like, you know, stuff that was complex. Nothing like what's your name. You know, and
can we just do a special shout out to Mike? I just think he's just I hope he's okay. There's a lot of love for Mike. So
Mike, is that famous street the Lanes by any chance?
It was Bond. Was it Bond Street? Our Bond Street, not that Bond Street.
It was the Lane.
Yeah, the Lane.
Lanes. Yeah, it was Lanes.
Maybe
Yeah.
Kensington Gardens. But yeah, wherever you are, Mike, thank you for not causing the...
No, it wasn't
Thank you, Mike.
It wasn't the Lanes. It was somewhere else. No.
Mike, if Mike knows, if he could just let us know where it was, that would just
be Mike. Praise be. Only man I've ever liked.
Including Jamie in that, are you?
I don't know if Jamie counts. More like a, I don't know, being.
He paid her to like him.
Like an action figure. Look at what he's wearing.
Well, someone is.
No, it's
Lovely
great.
shirt.
It's just that you're like an action figure.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
We should end it right there. That was brilliant. That was.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I think the love that you can see on screen here just shows why indie film is important, because it's not just great on front, but also you create families behind the scenes, and you can see the chemistry you guys have got from just 10 days on set, and it's amazing. So thanks for sharing some of the kind of hints and tips and the behind the scenes and what you've been through with the audience. Thank you to everyone watching who submitted their questions. As I say, please watch Justine, tell your friends about Justine. It will come to countries where it's not available yet, so just be patient, or use a VPN. I didn't say that. But just legally watch it and pay for it. And then thank you so much, everyone. If anyone wants to follow any of these talented people on social media, we'll get them to put all their social down so you can follow everyone. And thank you so much. It's been an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to close off. We will close off by just repeating the trailer for anyone who missed the beginning. There's a lot of people been asking what film we're discussing, so we're going to show the trailer one last time.
Justine.
Brilliant.
Yeah, definitely not tucked.
Got no balls to tuck. No balls.
But thank you so much, and please keep an eye out for Lesflicks for future Q&As. Do support the platform. Watch the many talented films that we're bringing to you, and the more support indie film gets, the more film you get, and the more authentic stories that you get. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Do you ever think about dying? Everyone thinks about dying. It's attractive. What's attractive about dying, Justine? Not feeling anything.
So what do you want to do?
Justine.
Rachel. Tell me something about you. Something I don't know.
The past can be a terrible thing. I don't particularly want one.
The best thing you can do is just keep your nose out of it, yeah?
Hello? Justine?
Okay, Doc.
You have to stop drinking.
When I drink, I feel safe.
I can make you feel safe.
What's the point of all this? We'll end in tears.
Oi!